everyone, welcome to our live this week. I will give you a second because it's been a little while since we've had a Thursday live, because last week we were under the weather and the week before we were traveling, so it was deferred to the previous day. But today is a very special live, so I want to make sure as many people as possible get a chance to come on. I'm going to try and cover over my little reveal for later that's sitting here behind. It's kind of nice to be back to normal again. Both myself and Laura got sick. We managed to get COVID on the way back from the trip. I escaped for 3 years and I eventually succumbed. I had, fortunately, a mild dose. And I'm feeling fine now. I'm still got a small little bit of the brain fog. I am very, somebody can't hear. Let me tell you, somebody's not able to hear there, but anybody else able to hear? Let me make sure that this is on behind here. Can you tell me, is that okay sound-wise? Yeah, no, I think most people are saying it's okay. Liz, can you hear me? Laura can hear me. Okay, well, I'll give it a second. It might just have been a second of a blip. But yes, brain fog is kind of a little bit of an issue. Having a hard time remembering lists of things. Can work away with certain events, fine, working linearly, but then when there's a few things come in, I'm finding that things are dropping off my radar. So hopefully that won't last too long. But the whole thing was very short-lived, thankfully. But we were the week before last, we were over in a trade show in Germany, which was really, really enjoyable. Now, a big part of it for us is actually reconnecting with suppliers, reconnecting with other designers, things like that, people who I have not seen for several years. And when you're dealing primarily with people online, to be able to see them in person makes a really, really big difference. I think simply because when you are emailing, you can picture the person and you know their tone and you know how they'll interact. So that was the biggest part. But of course, the other one, which we can't fully share with you yet, was being able to explore new yarns, new styles that are out there, ideas for ways of using yarn and trends. What kind of things are coming out, what yarns, what colours, what pattern styles, that kind of stuff. There was nothing really, really out of the ordinary different, but we did find a couple of really, really beautiful yarns that we're hoping to pull in either to the shop or maybe to the Seasons Club coming forward in the next few seasons coming up. So they should be a lot of fun. And the big thing today that I want to tell you about is our spring knit along. Our spring knit along, which we've been doing every year for the last several years, it's a cardigan. It's a cardigan in Nua Sport. So I will show you the cardigan a little bit more in a minute. It's called Holly Blue, and it kind of knit itself. I know that's going to sound a bit silly. It was one of those designs as I was knitting through. I had the initial plan for the stitch pattern I wanted to try, and I knew that I wanted to do a circular yoke because last year for the Celtic Knits Club, the Ulach sweater, I did a circular yoke for that with cables going around, and I had not previously done an awful lot of circular yokes because I just had difficulty getting it exactly the way I wanted it to be. But the Ulach, something clicked and I realised how to get a much nicer fitting circular yoke. So it meant that I really, really want to use it again in a design, which is why we've got the Holly Blue is a circular yoke. When it's the spring, I also like something a little lighter, a little bit lacier. And the other thing that I wanted to try with this one that I haven't done in a while is most of my spring cardigans tend to be 3/4 length sleeves, because it often ends up being for the summer or for like in between weather. It's an easier thing to wear, particularly if you've got short sleeved underneath. But what I was finding is when I was pulling it out in slightly cooler months where I had long sleeves on, the 3/4 length sleeve wasn't working as well. So this time around I went for full sleeve. Now, if you prefer 3/4 length, then I am totally you know, that's totally still possible to do. I'll have some directions in the knit along as we go through. If you've done a knit along before, you'll know how the whole thing is set up. You buy the pattern and what you get is an information PDF. If you buy it on my shop on stolenstitches.com, you'll automatically be enrolled in both the teachable video classes. So you'll get an invitation for that where you can make an account and the email address will be associated with the class. And every new clue that comes out, you're going to get all of the videos that come with that. So what that actually means is that for the price of a knit along, which is it's slightly more than a pattern, but only by a couple of euros, for that price, you're actually going to be getting the entire video workshops as they come out, as well as the pattern. So you're getting 2 for the price of 1 for the duration of the knit along. They're yours to keep all the way through, but if you don't buy the knit along while it's in progress, the workshop then will be a totally separate product after the fact. So it does make sense if you think you'd like to make use of the videos to actually get them as it's in progress. So that's the first thing when you get it on Stone Stitches. And the second one is our Knit Hub, which is hosted on Circle platform. You'll also be enrolled in the Knit Along space there, which is where we'll kind of have our chats, or you can basically kind of discuss with other knitters what's going on, what yarn choices you're doing and things like that. Elsa Louise, when does the knit along start? Good question, Elsa. The pattern and the yarn kits are going to go on sale at 8 o'clock Irish time tonight. So that's 5 hours after, or the East Coast is 5 hours different. So that's take 5 hours away for the East Coast of the US. First clue is going to come out on the 11th of May, I believe. And then every 2 weeks, there'll be another clue will come out for 3 clues till the final one. So it'll be kind of mid-May is when the first clue is going to be coming out. As always, if you are not keeping up with the knit along, there is no problem. You will not get left behind. All of the support is there. We will still check in every day, answer all queries. All of the videos are there for you. So you can work along at your own time. It's just the clues are going to be released along a schedule, because some people really like the motivation of having little mini deadlines along and having raffles for each stage. So we're trying to kind of make it work for as many different people as possible. If you do not like that pressure, then don't put yourself under that pressure. Just enjoy the process, take your time and knit to a speed that is comfortable for you. Because it is not there to create a stress. It is just there in case you like that extra motivation and it helps move you along. You're just in, are the buttons available in the shop? Yes, all of the buttons will be available in the shop. The yarn kits will also go up tonight. So the pattern and the yarn kits together, if you bundle the two together, because the yarn kit does not come with the pattern, they're separate products. If you bundle those two together, then you will get 10% off until the end of April for the bundle together. Buttons will have option of 10 for the first few sizes. It's 9, 20 millimeter buttons. These are mother of pearl, and then it would be 10 for the larger sizes. So we've put a bundle in together with 10, so it'll cover all of the sizes. But they will all go live at 8 o'clock tonight. Now, if you want to kind of check out all of the colors and figure out what color you want to use, it is New Sport, and we will have all 18 colors available in the kits. So you can hop on to New Sport, take a look at the colors, and maybe plan what you think what color you'd like to go with when the whole thing goes live. Will the buttons come with the kits? It's an add-on, so we will have it. So if you go onto the kit page, you can go to the kit, pick your size, pick your color, add on the pattern, and then you have the option to also add on the buttons if you wish. So they'll be there on the page as an add-on option for you. You don't have to get them because you may have buttons you prefer, or you might have either at home or a good supply locally. But they will be there, the option, if you want them. But now let me actually introduce the cardigan to you, now that I've told you about how the whole thing will work. And if you do have further questions as we're going through here, and you're jumping in here and you're watching the video after the fact, then you can just post questions up here on the comments and I will answer them. Elsa Louise, can I describe the color August Storm? I actually get that a lot because August Storm is actually very aptly named. Think of those clouds you see when there's a big August storm coming. It is going to be mainly kind of a deep charcoal grey, but with teeny little hints of purple through it. And it's going to look different in different lights, which is why it's often hard to photograph. If asked what colour it is, I will describe it as charcoal grey. But if you catch it in a certain light, there's definitely very strong purpley hints. Don't think we have it here, but if Laura's listening, she may drop up a colour to me and I can kind of show it to you in a little bit more detail. But really, a darker grey would be the best way to describe it, I do think. If you haven't knit with Newest Sport before, it's a mix of merino, yak and linen, 60% merino, 20% yak and 20% linen. The merino is, hang on, no, you can't really see it in this one. The yak has got kind of a very beigey colour to it, so everything dyed over it gets a little bit darker. The 20% linen has got, thank you, Laura. And you see Laura's hand, she appeared. And Laura says she thinks it's purple. So Elsa Louise brought up a very, very good point here, is that it is in the eye of the beholder. So you have one, it is dark grey, and you have one, it is purple. If anyone has got some August Storms in their stash, or if they've knit with it, pop up what you think the colour is to you. So here, I'm going to hold this up here. This is August Storms. You can see in this light, I think it looks quite charcoaly grey with tiny little flecks of white through it. But if you go very close, there is very light purpley tinges, but I wouldn't describe it as fully purple. So if you're getting this looking for a purple, I don't think it would be what I would describe as purple. But this is a good one to show you as well, how the linen impacts the yarn. You see the 20% linen? It creates these little flecks. So people think it's going to be a very rustic yarn, but it's not. It's very soft. Merino soft, and yak is as soft as cashmere. So the two of those combined make a really soft yarn. The main impact of linen is it creates this kind of a kind of a tweedy effect to it, because it dyes differently and it also doesn't stay fully within the yarn, so it kind of comes off a little. You check on, oh, that's a really good idea. So yeah, check on Ravelry and under Newest Sport, and you can see different photographs of the different colours being knit up. So you can see, even within that, you'll probably see how different the same colour can look in different photographs. But a little bit of both is the answer for this one. I have a couple more colours that I'll go through with you in a minute, but if there's any other colours you want to see a little bit closer, give us a shout, and I can give Laura lots of exercise so she can run up and down the stairs with different colours, you know, just to drive her insane. But here is our holly blue. I'm going to pop it in front so you can see. And I love the fact that this particular stitch pattern is called Bumblebee Stitch Pattern, because it is knit top down, and I think it does in fact look like a bumblebee. And let me turn it around. You can see it more fully from the back here, the bumblebee stitch pattern. So it's knit from the top down. There's a little bit of short rows across the back here. And this is actually where I discovered how I can make top down circular yokes fit much better. Because what I had been doing is doing short rows, and then but if you don't do increases at the same time, it ends up standing up a little high and not sitting down nicely on the body like this. Whereas if with short rows you start doing increases, it sits down a lot more comfortably on it. So circular yoke, you've got increases all happen in one row, and that allows you to do lace patterns, another increase in between and another one along here. So you've got, it means that the lace, there is nothing happening except for the lace in those rows, which is much, much easier to work. So that's one of the biggest advantages of circular yoke, is the fact that when you are doing all of your increases, they're happening in rows where nothing is happening but those increases. And then any other stitch patterns, all you're doing is the stitch pattern. I saw a question pop up here asking if what the skill level is needed. I actually, if you're able to work the stitch pattern, so the actual lace stitch pattern, that to me is probably one of the most tricky things about it, and it's not overly difficult. So if you swatch that and practice how to do that before the knit along starts, I don't think you'll have any difficulty with it. And knit alongs are in fact a really, really good way of learning how to knit for yourself, measure yourself, and modify things as you're going through, because of the fact that you're going to have my support, other knitters' support, and videos that will go along with the whole thing all the way through. So it's probably one of the best ways of actually getting a good fitted cardigan. I think somebody had asked a question earlier on that I missed as well, what I was wearing. This is my good old Rusty Lines. We've had cold weather here, and so Rusty Lines ends up coming out. This one is done in a woollier yarn, as in slightly looser gauge. So to fill in the neck, I picked up stitches and just did a cowl. So Rusty Lines is the name of this one. So it's knit from the top down. The body has got A-line shaping, which means that it increases ever so slightly coming down here. The button bands are picked up afterwards, and you can see here I've used mother of pearl buttons because they're nice and light, and they're easy to get hold of, they're easy to sew on, so they're kind of one of our favorites around here. The neckband is done afterwards, and I had been doing actually a few little videos asking me about neckbands over the last few weeks, and this is a pretty good example of why you would use and put a neckband on afterwards, because sometimes top-down patterns start right on the ribbing, go into the ribbing, and then go down. But you can see here how much pressure is put on that neckband because the whole garment hangs from there. So if you leave the neckband off, you do just your edging, but you come back afterwards, you pick up the stitches and you do an extra bind off. So you've got a cast on, picked up stitches and a bind off. So it gives you a much firmer neck edging. Also allows you to tweak it as you're going along. So if you prefer this open, you might opt to just do an I-cord edging and you leave it much more open. If you want it more closed, you can either decrease, use a smaller needle size, use a firmer bind off. So it leaves all of those options open to you to the very end if you do the edging afterwards. So that's why, like on the outside, if you look at it and you go, it's like, I don't understand, why am I picking it up and doing it afterwards? There's several really good reasons, and it gives you a lot more ability to customize. So lots of reasons to go do it. But yes, so that's the top down. Button band is afterwards as well. Same kind of reason. You can put your buttons in. You won't forget them as you're trying to work it. And you can also do it a smaller needle size, so it's got a bit more firmness. If you know if you can see it here, there's just a small little lace panel here, just for fun, because it gets a bit boring doing all stockinette stitch. So I put a little bit of a lace panel and a little bit along the sleeve as well. So and these, when you're working through a knit along, are all the kind of areas that we will talk about customizing. We'll talk about measuring yourself, matching up with the gauge. If you have difficulty getting gauge, whether you're going to change the needle size, whether you're going to adjust the body size. So all of those can be discussed as we're going through. Figuring out the length of the yoke, whether you want to adjust that or if you want to add increases afterwards. Then down here, for the body, this is A-line shaping, but I will talk about how you'd go about doing it straight. If you wanted to add increases, they can all be into the whole thing. Can I put it in, please? Hang on, I'm not sure what you're asking me there. I will go back, actually, there's a few questions I've missed. The first one was looking at cerebellum, which I will pull that up. Elsa Louise was asking if I used bamboo or metal needles. I think I used bamboo needles, but I may have kind of swapped back and forth. I'm on a bit of a bamboo kick at the moment. I'm not sure why. It might have because I've been doing some traveling, and so bamboo is particularly good when traveling because it's not going to be bothering anyone when you're going through. Let's check, is there any other questions here? Okay, this is our cerebellum. One of my favorite colors. A couple of years ago, Guggen cardigan was the knit along we did, and this was the color we used. It is a lovely dusty pink, but got a dark undertone because of the yak in it. So this, I think, is actually a really good multifunctional color because it goes with almost everything. A few more over here. This is Unexpected Macaw, which is the faded denim blue of the newest sport world. So again, these are going to be slightly lighter colors. Maybe they're going to be good for more summery, I suppose more summery colors, things like that. Or if you tend to wear florals or lighter colors during the summer, maybe something like this will go with more things. You may perhaps be more of a color statement person, which I think your Hatters Teal Party, it's neutral enough colors because blues go with a lot of things, but it's still a nice bright blue. Cafe Flamingo would be really fun in this. I think this would be gorgeous. This one is Broken Tiles, which is kind of a terracotta-ish color. I'm quite fond of the Broken Tiles color. It would be lovely if you've got like green floral dresses and things like that. That would be so pretty with it. A few more over here I can show you. Oh, I did actually have, this is the August Storms we were looking at. Kitten Fluff. Someone was looking for Elsa Louise. You wanted Kitten Fluff. Kitten Fluff here is a grey, a light grey colour, where you can see this, there is little flecks of white through it. Sometimes when you don't see them next to each other, Bare Necessities is more of the slight hints of kind of a beigey colour and light brown because of it's undyed, and that would be the natural yak colour. This one, Kitten Fluff, has got, it's a little bit of, it's more in the grey end of the range. And here we have Rolling Bales, which is just a really, really good kind of hay straw colour. Another one where I actually love, I don't have them over here, but like if you've got anything like browns or cream patterns and things like that, that would look really, really pretty with that. Now there was a couple of questions came in over the last couple of days, which I think might actually fit in quite well with this week's one. The first one was from Sharon. She was asking me, how do you knit a garment that fit? So like the knit along is going to be a big help with this because it's going to explain all of the different parts. Usual things for knitting a garment that fits are going to be need a yarn that's going to be as close as possible to the yarn in the pattern. It doesn't have to obviously be identical, but it should have similar properties and a similar weight. Then you want to go and actually swatch, check your gauge. And if you get the gauge, then you're really off to a good start, because then you can take your gauge and you know whatever size you knit from the pattern is going to match what's there. You also need to decide how much ease you want, which is something I haven't actually really talked with this, is the ease on this. I knit it with several inches of ease. I think I had 3-4 inches of ease, so quite generous in terms of ease. Ease is how much bigger than your body it is. So if you've got like a 35-inch bust, and if I knit a 40-inch size, that's going to give me 5 inches of positive ease. You can opt to have less. You can also, as a 35-inch bust, I might say, I actually like things a little bit more fitted, in which case I'll go for something like a 35 or a 36-inch, so it's just a little bit bigger. And that's all down to personal preference. You do need to be a little careful in terms of what the designer has done, because if the designer has designed it to have a lot of ease, it may not necessarily have the same amount everywhere. So it might be that you might say, I'm going to size down because I don't want the bust that big. But if the sleeves weren't sized up, then you could end up with sleeves that were too tight. So you want to go and take a look at the schematic, measure your body and all of the different parts that are relevant. So the size of your bust, perhaps how long you want it, if your waist is long or high, to make sure it's the right length. And also the upper arm is a big one, because if the upper arm is too tight, it's going to be very uncomfortable. I think you can almost get away with the arms being a little bigger rather than too small, because a little bigger, it's not the end of the world. It's just going to be, perhaps you might need to add a couple more decreases coming down here. If it's too tight, it's always going to be uncomfortable. So that is something that you really need to keep an eye out for when you are picking your sizes, that it's not all about the bust. So hopefully that has kind of answered some of the questions. Match your gauge, pick your size, and then take a look at the schematic so that you know that the sizes for all of the different parts of your body will match up with the different sizes in the schematic. If they don't, pick the ones that are the closest. It might be perhaps the shoulders are more relevant and you pick for that if your bust is a lot bigger relative to your shoulders, or it might end up being that you pick for your bust and you adjust the shoulders. But keep an eye on what each one is and be careful that each part matches and it's not just about the bust size. If you do want to learn a little bit more about fitting as we're going through, obviously the knit along will have a certain amount. I do have a masterclass on Fit Your Knits if you want to really deep dive into a bit more of those. But from a starting point of view, the knit along is going to work really, really well to get you started. And the other people knitting along make a big difference too, because it's not just my opinion. You can actually throw it out to the community and say, hey, I've done this. This is the size of my bust. What size do you think I should do? Or I'm trying to think about this, and somebody else may have done it, or they just may have some input in from you, because it might be one of those it takes a village to knit a cardigan situations. I've got a couple of questions here. Diane, that is for Liz, not me. Aoife, you use newest sport for the first time lately. You like to work it. You think it'll hold up quite well to pilling as well. Yeah, it doesn't do too badly. Anything that's soft, you are going to get a certain amount of pilling, but it works very well with the wool shavers that just keep it looking really well. It's always going to be a trade-off with the soft yarn in terms of durability, but it does a pretty good job, I think, of balancing the two out. And for a lighter weight cardigan like this that you're going to be wearing in spring, you're going to want soft because you're not going to be wearing a big turtleneck with it. You're going to be having it next to your skin. So having it soft is really important for garments for this time of year. But just take care of it, and it works pretty well. I'm looking here. We've got cerebellum. I think there's a few cerebellums on there. And Liz is going to go to her own little yarn shop upstairs, cerebellum and rolling bales. Maybe you'll do one of each. One of your daughters might rob this one from you as well. And there was another question from Sandra. You've never tried a top-down pattern, and is this one suitable? Is there one suitable for a newbie, or is this one suitable for a newbie? Well, I think that as I was kind of talking through it, the only part that might catch somebody is the lace pattern. But I actually think that if you are a newer knitter, practice that lace stitch before you start. All of the other parts in this are really quite straightforward, and the videos will really, really help you along so that if you get stuck, you can just watch that video section as you're going through. Because as I have with all my other workshops, every single section as I go through, I've got a video for. So I show you how to do the short rows, how to do the increases. I work through the lace pattern, both reading the chart and how to work the different stitches. I'll divide off the sleeves. I'll show you how to do the increases for the body, and then how to do magic loop from the sleeves as well as each of the little lace parts here. So there is a ton of different videos showing all of those different techniques. So I think that if you're feeling a little adventurous, this is very manageable for a newer knitter. Yeah, I think totally. Elsa Louise, when does Laura's 2023 Celtic Knits Club pattern come out? That will be out in the middle of May, will be the next one. They'll be shipped at the start of May, and the next pattern will come out in the middle of May. I'm looking through. I think that I've probably answered most of the questions that have popped up. If there's anything else that I haven't answered, just pop them on up there and I'll answer them after the fact, because the video is just going to get put up into the grid afterwards. You might actually find this helpful, kind of coming through again afterwards, if you want to learn a little bit more about it or see it up close as we're going through. I have also put up a video on YouTube where I'm talking through the pattern and a little bit of the yarn as well, just a really short little introduction. So if you want to pop into YouTube, you can find some details of it in there as well. And it is 8 o'clock tonight. Everything goes live. The pattern will be available, and the yarn kits will be available too. So I'm looking forward to sharing this one with you because it just flies off the needles. It's a fast knit and it's a lot of fun. Babel, you can't resist. You really love the pattern. You'll choose a blue color. Yes, you've got 3 blues to choose from: dark, light, or bright is probably the best way to put it. And the other question here was, when do you get the Seasons Club patterns? Next week is going to be our Spring Seasons patterns will come out. So I'll share those with you it'll be next Wednesday. Oh, that's a good reminder. It will be next Wednesday. I'm going to be doing a live because I have got to go away for an interview on Thursday. So Wednesday will be the live where I get to share the seasons, the Spring Seasons with you, anyone who is on that. Diane, you're excited, can you tell? Well, it must be kind of transmittable because I was definitely excited about this one. I mean, I even ended up, kind of wandering out at the crack of dawn last week when we had a really, really nice weather to sneak into the park to take some photographs of it. The photographs turned out really nicely. We ended up in Fitzgerald's Park in town. So we've got ones behind the fountain and a few others over in front of the museum. Has got a big blue and white building. So we ended up getting some really fun photographs of it. Hannah has just reminded me, it is not next Wednesday, it is next Friday that I'm going to be doing the live. Thank you, Hannah. My brain is not what it used to be. Maybe in a few weeks' time, the brain will be returned to me in full working order. I am just glad that I am not as tired anymore because that part is no fun. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you all Friday next week for live at 2:30 again. Bye, everyone.